Welcome to Pick a Card, Any Card.
Where we pick a card
Any card.
and cast it with a goblin voice.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Devin.
Today's cards are Ertai, the Corrupted.
And Necrotic Plague.
And I probably said Ertai. It's probably Ertai. I don't know.
Ertai. It's Ertai.
R-to-E.
No, Ertai. Ertai to the A to the Y.
So, Ertai the Corrupted.
The Creupted.
Ertai the Corrupted.
Are you? Is your audio? Is your mind corrupted?
Yeah.
And that's why it's just yelling in Gerbish.
Gerbish. I'm actually speaking Gerblin. Ertai the Corrupted is a 5-mana legendary creature human wizard. He is 2 generic, a white, a blue, and a black. So he falls into Esper color. He is a 3/4 with pay a blue, tap, sacrifice a creature or enchantment, counter target spell. Now, he had a previous version, a previous card called Ertai Wizard Adept, which was 2 generic and a blue for a legendary creature human wizard, where you could pay 2 generic and 2 blue, tap him, counter target spell.
Hey, I've seen this guy before.
Boring.
I was gonna run him in my counterspell deck, but then I found out he was like $17.
So, Ertai Wizard Adept, I think Ertai himself was just this really arrogant wizard.
He's just a dick.
Yeah, basically. Because the flavor text on the Corrupted is altered by Phyrexian science, corrupted by black mana, and twisted by rage. Ertai still looked in the mirror and saw only glory. So you can tell he was really full of himself.
Yeah, I'm confused why he's not blue, black, red.
I am too.
Because,
white doesn't make sense.
Yeah, like, I guess the glory bit, yeah, like, he thinks he is magnificent and, gloriful.
Yeah. Glorificus?
Like, he thinks he is great, he thinks he is holy, he thinks he is good.
Right.
But he's corrupted by black mana. I assume he's just like, oh, I'm doing this for the better, for the good. Oh, he was in Plane Shift. You should have mentioned that.
Oh, he was in Plane Shift. Sorry. There's 2 different arts for him. Neither, in my opinion, is all that great, but I like the original art better than the DCI
old
art.
arts.
Yeah. Old magic art was hit or miss.
It was not very good. It's such an old art that the card background itself was that nasty yellowish pea soup color.
Yeah.
Which any card that has that color going for it is not a pretty card.
Right. So, unlike normal when I talk about constructed decks and Devin talks about commander decks, I want to talk about a commander deck because I think he would make an excellent, if incredibly obnoxious commander.
Oh yeah, he'd be so irritating, and you can't really get mad at him because you're sacrificing your shit too.
Right, you have to. There is a cost to you. You're not just paying mana and making sure nobody else can do stuff. You are also losing stuff.
Yeah, and in my experience in Commander, you don't play a control deck saying like, I'm going to counter everyone's stuff. It's like, you don't.
No.
You counterrate someone's big stuff.
Right.
So like, that's a zombie deck. It's like, I just play a 2/2 zombie that essentially does nothing. It's like, that's fine. I play a zombie that makes all my zombies cost less and give them +2/+1. I'm like, that guy can't happen.
But if you do it right with Ertai, you can just counter everything.
Yeah, if you have infinite combos up, which as we've discovered when going through just random cards, it could totally happen.
Easily. So, the first thing that we want to talk about is you can counter a lot of stuff because you're going to have a lot of permanents, you're going to have a lot of creatures, you're going to have a lot of enchantments. So, yeah, you can counter a lot of stuff, but you do have to tap Ertai in order to do it. So, something like Aegis of the Gods or Leyline of Sanctity that give you hexproof sort of discourages people from going after you. They have to go after that creature specifically in order to, or wrath the board in order to actually be able to hit you.
Yeah.
Which you can deal with Ertai.
Yeah.
So if they are going to target you with a creature, or if they are going to target you, they have to blow up your creature and you can stop them from blowing up your creature relatively easily.
Yeah.
Plus, both Leyline of Sanctity and Aegis of the Gods are enchantments. Aegis of the Gods is also a creature. Really nice.
Yeah.
So, one of the creatures that I thought of that is hilarious.
Remember a few weeks ago when we were in green and I talked about Mitotic Slime?
Yeah.
It's essentially the inverse version of that.
It really is. I wish I could use Mitotic Slime, but Mitotic Slime is in green.
Yeah.
So instead I'm using something similar, Reef Worm. It's 4 mana for a 0/1. When Reef Worm dies, create a 3/3 blue fish creature token with, when this creature dies, create a 6/6 blue whale creature token with, when this creature dies, create a 9/9 blue kraken creature token. All of that to say is, when you sacrifice your Reef Worm, you get a fish. When you sacrifice the fish,
you get a
whale.
Fish.
When you sacrifice the whale, you get a kraken.
Because it's a worm. It attracts the fish, and fish eats it.
Right. For 4 mana, you can fuel 4 counter spells.
Yeah.
That's not bad at all.
Or you can fuel 3 and have a 9/9 Kraken.
Or you could do that, which, let's be honest, why not? Unless they counter the worm.
And then you can cast Whelming Wave, and it'll bounce all the creatures except Kraken swinging.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, if you want to be that guy.
Yeah.
That guy who counters all the spells and then hits people with krakens.
Please. I am that guy. I want to be that. I want to be the man.
You brought up an excellent, when we were talking about this, you brought up an excellent point.
I brought up this card, not because it works with your card, but because it works with my card.
It works with both, really.
I love reassembling skeleton.
2 mana, 1 and a black.
For a 1/1.
For a 1/1. It's a skeleton.
Yep.
You can pay 1 and a black to return it from your skeleton, return
it from your skeleton.
Yeah. You can pay 1 and a black to return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. So
he reassembles himself.
He does.
He's a reassembling skeleton.
So when they go to cast a spell, you can pay 1 and a black, bring him onto the battlefield, then play a blue, and sacrifice him.
Yep. It doesn't matter that he's tapped when he enters the battlefield.
Nope.
He is one of the very few creatures that can bring himself back from the grave. And can block.
He can't block. He comes back tapped.
Yeah, but he can just block just as normally.
That's true.
Bloodghast, Gravecrawler, some other zombies that just come back. Yeah, right. they all come in tapped.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
Tenacious Dead.
Yeah, like
all
a lot of zombies can't block, but they can come back.
Right. I mean, he can block and then come back.
Yeah, he can block, come back, and he doesn't have the ability, quote, cannot block.
Right.
Is what I'm getting.
Tenacious Dead can block.
Oh.
Tenacious Dead is reassembling skeleton on a triggered ability.
Pull up Tenacious Dead, because this is like the 3rd time you've mentioned him, and I don't know what he does off the top of my head. I think you've talked about Tenacious Dead every single time we talk about black cards.
It's a great card. It's 1 mana for a 1/1. When Tenacious Dead dies, you may pay 1 and a black. If you do, return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control.
Yep.
It's
reassembling skeleton is better, but...
Well, yeah, because you have to have the mana up when he dies.
Yeah.
It's not, I can bring it back at my leisure, but he is similar to reassembling skeleton.
Yeah.
It's a fun card. I like it a lot.
I do. I really like skeletons. There is I think he's called Baron of the Undead or something like that, he's a skeleton and zombie lord.
Yes.
And like he's
isn't
the only
he a legendary creature too?
I don't think so.
No, he might not be.
He's really expensive, but he's just a zombie.
Right. So we've spent a little bit of time down at the black end. Let's slide back up the mana circle and go back into blue, because you can do some hilarious things with blue.
To the superior color.
So Guile. Oh my goodness. It's 6 mana.
Keep going. It goes with it.
It's 6 mana, 3 generic and 3 blue, so he's kind of hard to cast. For a creature, elemental incarnation. Guile can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures. He's a 6/6, so that's already kind of hard. If a spell or ability you control would counter a spell, instead, exile that spell. And you may play that card without paying its mana cost. And, when Guile is put into the graveyard from anywhere, shuffle it into its owner's library. So, he's huge. He has 3 ridiculous abilities. But the one I really want to focus on right now is the middle one. Because that is what's going to fuel this deck.
Yep.
You can spend 1 mana with Ertai, counter any spell you want to, and then you can cast it.
And then it's yours.
For free.
Yep. Well, it's Oh, nope, I'm thinking Dubscape. Yeah. So you get whatever you counter is yours.
Right.
Ulamog, mine. Emrakul, mine. Llanowar Elf, mine.
Doesn't matter. 1 mana and a permanent. I don't even care. You just don't want to sacrifice him as part of the cost because then you can't get the spell. Because he's gone, so his ability doesn't work.
That is true.
So you want to keep him around. He's one of the few permanents in this deck that you don't want to sacrifice.
But if you have to. I mean, that kind of, like, depending on the card, if it's like, I cast Emrakul, it's like, I only have Guile and Ertai. I tap and sack Ertai so I can get your Emrakul.
Right. Yeah. Because then you can just recast Ertai.
And you still get the cast trigger.
Yes. You still get the cast trigger.
You actually cast the spell. You don't counter their cast, but you still get their cast.
Right. They get the cast trigger, and you get the cast trigger.
Yep.
So with Emrakul, that would be, they get to take your next turn, and then you get an extra turn, but then you get to take their next turn, and then they get an extra turn.
Oh, crap. I forgot about that. Let me think.
In a multiplayer game, that would be crazy.
Actually, no. Since yours would resolve first, because you have to do it in response. Yeah, it depends. Like, so they would cast it, their ability goes on the stack, you counter it, that would resolve, you cast it, that ability goes on the stack.
Yes.
It would resolve, they would get another turn,
No.
Then it would resolve, Emrakul.
No, they wouldn't get another turn. You cast it on their turn, so their turn ends, it's their next turn.
Yeah.
So you get a turn.
They will get a turn at the end after this one. The turn doesn't just end immediately.
No. They don't get an extra turn after this one. They get an extra turn after the turn that you take for them.
Yeah.
But you're not taking this turn for them.
They don't get an additional one. Oh, you're right.
So it comes around, it hits you.
You're right. So
they take your turn.
Okay.
Then you get your turn.
So like as I was saying though, like your Emrakul's ability would resolve. You would control their next turn, and then they would get an extra one. Happens later. Don't worry about it. Emrakul resolves, hits the field. The original one they cast would resolve. They control your next turn, and then you get another one.
Right, but because of the way play progresses, they get their trigger. They get their trigger before you get yours.
Control yours. Realize that they can't do anything other than counter your own spells, but you already have Emrakul. You don't care.
They could sacrifice your Emrakul to counter something.
That's true, but they have to cast something to do it.
Right.
So in response, you just play all of your spells and hope you top deck a land.
Oh my goodness, that cracks me up.
Oh, that is ludicrous.
And it only gets more ridiculous from here.
Mm-hmm. So probably the best one in blue for just the most combo-y card that we found was Intruder Alarm.
I just can't stop myself from laughing. This is ridiculous.
Holy shit.
Guile plus Intruder Alarm. Intruder Alarm is 2 generic and a blue. For an enchantment, creatures don't untap during their controller's untap steps. No creatures. Nobody's creatures untap.
Nope.
Whenever a creature enters the battlefield, untap all creatures. All of them. If anybody ever casts a creature, all the creatures, or if anybody ever has a creature enter the battlefield, they all untap.
Yep.
This leads to some ridiculously broken combos.
It's like anything that just has tap at a
Wait, I didn't check.
Is
this card banned in Commander?
No, it was legal because we checked it. Because I assumed it was too old to be running anything. Sets in legality. Yep, legal in Commander.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it is a ludicrously powerful card, especially if you're running things like Skursdag High Priest.
It's nuts.
Just tap 3 creatures, put a token onto the battlefield, untap your creatures because
of Intruder Alarm.
Yep, and just tap, make. I love how you make a creature which triggers your own Intruder Alarm, which is a false alarm because it's not an intruder. He's your guy, and everyone untaps alert, and they're like, okay, then you just make another demon.
Well, see, what happens is you have a guy enter the battlefield, which puts your opponent on alert, which puts you on alert.
That is true.
So it's not necessarily a false alarm. It's just an alarm in response.
Yeah, like everyone's alarmed.
We're all alarmed. Oh man, it's just crazy because you can have a creature enter the battlefield, which then will untap Ertai, which means you can counter another spell. And if you just keep playing creatures, you can just keep untapping Ertai. If you keep countering their creatures and you have Guile on the board, every time you counter a creature spell, you untap Ertai.
Yep.
to counter another creature spell.
This is nuts. Like, I like this deck.
I need to actually sit down and assemble this deck.
You do.
It's gonna be expensive. There's no way around. Like,
I don't know, all the cards we're mentioning this far, other than Guile and Intruder Alarm, aren't that expensive.
and Guile and Intruder Alarm's only like $5.
Yeah.
It's not that bad.
I think Guile's only like 5. Maybe not even that, because he's been printed like 5 or 6 times.
So. I wonder if I could assemble this in such a way where it wouldn't be ludicrously expensive.
Oh yeah, you could definitely. It's beauty of EDH, like there are a lot of budget EDH decks.
Right.
And like I'm pretty sure you can make a budget EDH version of this. But like if you get any mana dorks, you can also just go infinite.
Oh yeah, no, so long as you have mana, you can do whatever you want to.
Well, if you have mana and a token generator.
Which you have with Skursdag High Priest.
Yeah. You Skursdag High Priest on the battlefield, tap 3, and you have other creatures. And a creature die because you sacrificed the duder.
Right. And yeah, you could put in things that say, oh, when a creature dies or what. You could abuse the hits the graveyard triggers.
You know, we're black, white, and blue.
Yeah.
That's the colors we're in. And there are the 3 mirrors. There's the mirror that taps for colorless. I know there's...
Oh no, I wish Mirror Propagator worked.
Mirror Propagator would work. You pay 3, tap, put a...
Pay 3, tap, put a token that's a copy onto the battlefield, which untaps it. It would work.
Yeah, I think. Look at exactly what Mirror Propagator does. I know there's a merfolk called Sea Scryer who taps for a colorless mana, and you can also pay 1 and tap it and add a blue to your mana pool. I don't know about black and white. There has to be at least 1 or 2 black and or white mana dorks.
Yeah. So Mirror Propagator is pay 3, tap, create a token that's a copy of Mirror Propagator. You could use... There's Paradise Mantle is an artifact that you can... It's an equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Equipped creature you can tap for 1 mana of any color.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get mana out there onto the battlefield in creature form and have as much mana and as many creatures and as many counter spells as you want, and you can counter absolutely everything.
Yep.
You can run Afara, God of the Polis. So she's 4 mana for a god. As long as your devotion to white and blue is less than 7, she's not a creature. You don't care. You might actually turn her on at some point, but at the beginning of each upkeep, if you had another creature enter the battlefield under your control last turn, draw a card.
Well, she's actually going to be on for the majority of the time, because her and Ertai by themselves are 4.
Yeah.
So you're probably going to get to that.
But read her ability. At the beginning of each upkeep, if you had another creature enter the battlefield last turn.
Yeah.
If you have Guile out and they're trying to play creatures,
counter it.
You can trigger it at every single upkeep. Just draw a card every single upkeep.
Yup. I like her. She is good.
Oh, I know I've got one of her laying around somewhere.
Probably. I've actually seen her run in quite a few EDH decks.
Yeah.
Like, she's
run
not
her
a
in
commander,
Standard.
but she's run.
Yeah, I used to run her in Standard.
And she's not really all that powerful. She just draws you cards.
But in Commander, that's power.
Yeah. No, just power. But, well, she's also a 6/5.
Now, if only you can... It wouldn't work, though, but you could, with Guile, counter your own spells with Ertai and cast them without paying their mana costs.
I think Guile specifically says opponent's spells. Like that your opponents control.
If a spell or ability you control would counter a spell.
A spell. You are right.
So, Emrakul... You cast Emrakul, you counter Emrakul, you cast Emrakul.
I think one of the best parts about this is I can see someone else trying to counter the spell you're trying to counter.
And then you counter it out from under them.
Yeah, you kind of get like a counter war, like, I don't want you to have it, but I want it! Like, no.
Oh my goodness, you have to run Emrakul in this deck. You have to.
Yeah.
Because with Guile and Ertai, you can just counter to get a double trigger. If at some point you can generate a token under that, you can just keep doing it. You can take all of your opponent's turns.
How does countering work? Does counter, when it resolves, does it remove it from the stack?
Yes.
Or does it, or like, let's say like I cast a spell, and then someone else casts another spell, and then I cast a counter spell targeting the first one.
Yes.
Will the resolution of my counter spell remove it from the stack, so they
Yes.
both go away from the stack?
They are both off the stack, and then the
Okay.
only thing left on the stack is that spell in between.
Yeah. I'm like, or...
But...
Well, I don't think so. Mainly the fact that, like, if a spell loses its target, it isn't removed from the stack until it moves to resolve and then fizzles.
But when a spell is countered, it is removed from the stack.
Okay. I was thinking it's like, it stays there until it goes resolve, says, no, I've been countered, and then goes away.
No, it goes away immediately.
Alright.
But
I'm gonna look that
with
up later just to be
Emrakul,
sure.
with Emrakul, it's not the creature being countered that matters, because when the creature is cast, another ability goes on the stack on top of that, and that is the cast trigger for taking an opponent's turn.
Yes.
So you can counter the Emrakul out from under it, slap it down on top of it again, and you can just have 4, 5, 10,000 cast triggers.
That you can. You're a monster.
I am the worst person imaginable.
Just like, I want to take all these...
I'll take your turn, and then I will take the turn after that turn.
And, like, you will give your opponent infinite turns, but you'll control them.
I will take all of them. At that point, if your opponent does not concede, they have a death wish.
Or they are so confident in their deck that, no. This deck is so good that you can't intentionally lose.
You cannot intentionally make this deck lose.
I just cannot imagine, like, there has to be someone out there with a deck that is just designed in such a way that if someone takes their turns, like, alright, what do you do? I don't know. It's
It's just a deck that only ever, like, all the cards say your opponent.
Yeah, like, or just like, it's something like, target opponent loses 2 life. Like, I'm not gonna cast that. It's like Platinum Angel, like that. It's like, no, like, discard spells or, like, nothing that really hurts that can potentially hurt you. It's an Emrakul proof deck.
Right.
Just imagine getting that off and you're just like, yeah, what you gonna do? Target yourself? Is like, shit.
Oh my goodness. And that's the thing is, like, I think at that point, if I had just given my opponent 100,000 turns that I control, I would be like, crap.
Or in
well,
response,
I concede.
It's like, alright, now it's gonna pass to your turn so I can take control. It's like, in response, I somehow cast a spell that sacrifices literally all of my stuff. Okay, I know I have infinite turns. Draw them for me. Like, oh no! Now I just sit here and just take your turns and do nothing for the next 10 turns. Just discard crap. I'm not going to concede. I'm going to make you go through this.
Wait. If you give your opponent, like, 100,000 turns, eventually they deck themselves.
Yeah, they'll just draw out.
Unless they kill you before they run out of...
Yeah. Just like, yeah, that's the way, just like, yeah, you're gonna lose, because you literally can't do anything, because you don't get to play this game.
So basically, that just made the game unfun for everyone involved.
Did you just Panoptic Mirror a Time Walk? Yes. I don't want to play this game anymore. Good, because you don't get to.
Oh, man. Okay, I think that wraps it up for me. I've had too much fun today.
Yeah, but we didn't even get to mention any of the enchantments you get to run, because it's creature or enchantment.
Anything with Constellation.
Yeah, anything with Constellation.
Doomwake Giant. Please, run Doomwake Giant.
Or hell, just any enchantments. Like, you don't need to be also green.
Yeah, no, but
like
Doomwake Giant is whenever an enchantment hits the battlefield.
Yeah.
So, you can just keep playing your enchantments, and you can just keep making your creatures or your opponent's creatures -1/-1.
Yep.
You can,
like, counter that, kill that, do this, do that, bam, bam, bam.
You can cast your opponent's enchantments to give their stuff -1/-1.
Just, like, a Demonic Pact, you can run it. Just, like, pure value, and then sacrifice it to counter something.
Oh yeah, Demonic Pact. So I deal that 4 damage, I gain 4 life.
And
okay, next turn I'm around. Alright, I draw 2 cards, or 3 cards. Alright, now I sacrifice it to counter your spell.
Yeah. Or you or the newer version, Midnight Oil.
Which isn't as fun.
It isn't as good, but it fits. I do
It's not that it's not as good. It's still pretty decent. It's not fun, though.
I like how they're printing they are printing more of those cards.
Yeah.
Cards that are like, yeah, they're good in the short term, but really bad in the long term.
Yeah.
I'm like, Black has needed those.
It's because we need targets for Harmless Offering.
Yeah.
They printed Harmless Offering and then went, oh wait,
I think
Demonic Pact is cycling out.
It's more of they printed both with each other in mind. Like, Demonic Pact is good, like, but Demonic Pact, like, it has to be a Demonic Pact, and like, hey, we've been working on a card that you just give stuff to people. Like, no, you know what one of the, like, a lot of people's favorite commanders is?
Yeah.
Zedru, the deck that just gives shit away.
Oh, man.
Like,
and
what?
This is...
It's just a fun deck, and like, let's just make more of that.
Oh, man. This deck cracks me up already. I can't even handle it.
Hey, you know what you could also run?
My life has Void Winnower. I can't even.
Oh, yeah. You know what you could also run in this deck that is an enchantment?
What?
My card.
Yes, you can.
Necrotic Plague. I'm going to point out the fact that the second half of this video is going to be us still technically talking about your card.
And how all of your stuff will work with my card.
Yeah, like with Necrotic Plague, but we're talking about Necrotic Plague as a card that goes with your card. So...
And you can... Oh, you're right, because...
Yep, it's an enchantment.
Oh. So you can slap it on a creature, sack the creature out from under it, and then move it.
Give it to someone else. Get out of here.
So Necrotic Plague is... Do you want to read it?
Of course I want to read it, because
Okay.
I love this card. This card has a lot of, like, nuance to it. It's kind of like Animate Dead, and, like, you read it and you're like, wait, what? Hold on, slow down. Necrotic Plague is a 4-mana enchantment aura. Costs 2 colorless and 2 black. Sorry, 2 generic and 2 black. Enchant creature. Enchanted creature has, at the beginning of your upkeep, sacrifice this creature. When enchanted creature dies... its controller chooses target creature of his or her opponent's controls, return Necrotic Plague from its owner's graveyard to the battlefield attached to that creature.
So there's probably a better way to... Or a more shorthand way to say this, because this is a very nuanced card. But essentially what happens is, your upkeep rolls around, you control a creature with this on it, you sacrifice that creature, you pick... a creature that one of your opponents
Someone
controls.
else's creature, and you give it to them.
And you enchant them with that.
It's not a May ability.
No, you have
That
to.
is almost everyone's first thing. Is like, do I have to? It's like, yes.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do.
You have to. So, it's basically a game of hot potato, where you don't want to be stuck with the potato.
Yep. However, like, there are like two people's approach to this card is, one, you give it to the person to your left. So that like, their next turn, something will die, and they'll give it to the person on their left. And like, so maximum death happens.
Right.
And then there's the exact opposite player who hates Necrotic Plague and hates fun, and they give it to either the person who played Necrotic Plague
Or the person on their right.
Most likely both, because the person who plays Necrotic Plague is going to be the first guy I mentioned who puts it to the guy on their left.
And if there's only 2 people in the game,
Yeah. The best part is if you do, like, this, I haven't played it in EDH yet, but I really need to. It works probably really well in EDH deck, because, like, turn 6 rolls around, and like, yeah, Shieldred, Vorinclex, other incredibly high-costed card that's super powerful, and someone's gonna be like, I can't let that happen. So, like, I was gonna give it to this guy, because he's the asshole who played Necrotic Plague, but I really need to use Necrotic Plague to get rid of that Shieldred, or you're going to just recursively do annoying things. It's like, that's fair.
I was going to give it to this guy who's the asshole who brought Ertai to the table, but...
But Ertai can't counter Necrotic Plague. Here you go. Well, actually, not the ability.
Right.
Fun fact, you can't counter the ability because the second ability is not a spell.
Right. He can only counter spells.
Yep.
However,
That means...
he can counter the first casting of it.
Yep. Fun fact, Emrakul can still get killed by Necrotic Plague if he's not the first creature.
Yes.
You target something else. So if you're Ertai, you put it on a creature, kill the creature. Fun fact, if it dies by any reason,
Yes.
it doesn't have to be by its own sacrifice ability.
Yeah,
Any
it's just-
reason it dies, you give it to someone else.
So you can beat that guy playing Ertai, drop it on your own creature, sack your creature out from under it to counter something, and then slap it on your opponent's Emrakul.
Yep. Because the first Emrakul is protection from colored spells, and it's not a spell when it's activating its ability.
Right. The
It's
second
great.
Emrakul has this weird protection from instance.
Yeah, you can just enchantment. You don't care.
Which is funny because now there's just a lot of sorcery speed removal in standard.
Not, in my opinion, it's actually a lot of enchantments.
Yeah.
It's like
there's
that, like,
enchantments.
arrested by the consulates or whatever,
Oh, yeah.
and revoke privileges where you take someone's... Who's the bastard who would take Emrakul's driver's license? How dare you? He just wanted to ride.
So during the pre-release, I had somebody revoke privileges. Oh, what was it? I think it was my filigree familiar.
Mm-hmm.
They took my Fox's driver's license
How
away.
dare they? One of my favorite things that happened at the pre-release was I had Pia Nalar.
Mm-hmm.
She was my promo, and I played, what's his name? It was like Josh.
The guy who I brought?
Josh, yeah.
Yeah.
Josh, I was playing him, and he used Chandra's aggression or something like that.
Chandra's reprisal.
Yeah, Chandra's reprisal to kill Pia. Just like, you're grounded. Come on. And then he did it again in the next game.
You can't attack Mom like that.
Yeah, like, I just like, you're grounded. Get out of here. You know why you lost? Flavor is why you lost.
Oh, man.
So,
anyway,
yeah,
let's play things with Necrotic Plague. Hey, let's talk about reassembling skeleton again.
Yep. Fun fact, when you cast Necrotic Plague, you don't have to target your own stuff.
No.
But let's be real here. If you play Necrotic Plague, people are going to give you Necrotic Plague back.
Right.
So you cast things that are just going to die.
All the time.
Like, it's not going to really work all that well in Ertai, now that I think about it, due to the fact that they're just going to put it on... what's his name? Etri?
Etri, yeah.
Yeah, they're just going to put it on Etri. It's like, shit.
It's like,
so you'll have to you'll have to give Etri hexproof somehow before you use it.
That's going to be hard to do in those colors, though.
Well, the most common is boots and other boots.
Yep, more boots.
Yeah.
Give him a nice pair of boots. Boots and other boots.
Christmas
boots and fancy boots, because now they're Kaladesh inventions.
Yes.
The fanciest boots.
The nicest of boots. Anybody like reassembling skeleton, just put them in, Necrotic Plague, death, bring them back. The best part about it is you can bring them back just to make sure the Necrotic Plague has a target.
Right.
Fun fact. Oh, wait, no, it has to be an opponent controls.
Right. Otherwise, you would be able to
just
bring him back
crap,
in response to the trigger.
Yeah, fun fact, like, the best part about Necrotic Plague is it's a slow wrath.
Yes.
It's essentially just
it will eventually kill everything.
Like, people will just stop playing creatures, because, like, why? It's just gonna die in a Necrotic Plague on my turn.
The token decks don't have a big problem with it.
Yeah, just like, I just play more tokens.
More tokens, that's fine.
They're gonna die eventually.
Another thing you could do with Etri is just lots and lots of tokens.
Yeah.
But that's not as fun.
Mm. But another card that comes back that's really good is Bloodghast. He's got Landfall. Put him back on the battlefield.
Just drop lands.
Yeah. He's good. Problem is he's like $20.
He's 2 mana for a 2/1 that can...
He can't block, but Landfall,
he doesn't
comes
need
back.
to.
And he has haste as long as bonus is 10 life or less.
Which makes him not so great in Commander.
Yeah.
But he's still great in Constructed.
Still, like, that's just like more icing.
So, I think in order to fuel Necrotic Plague a little more, you need to be able to give your opponents creatures, don't you?
Yes, you do. Ideally crappy ones.
Right.
Or some that are like just strictly worse than yours.
So how about playing a 7/7 for 2, and the only downside is your opponent get 2 3/3s.
An opponent. It's not each opponent.
Yeah, it's an opponent. So, Hunted Horror, 2 black for a 7/7 with Trample. When Hunted Horror enters the battlefield, target opponent creates 2 3/3 green centaur creature tokens with protection from black.
I'm gonna point out, this is like the second card I've noticed this, but that said creates.
Yeah, the errata text.
Yeah, I know. But you know how much work that might had to been? Go through and find every single card in all of Magic that says put a token onto the battlefield and replace it with creates.
You write a select statement.
Yeah, but problem with that is it varies a lot. So even if you do get limit 90% of them, with that vague like kind of search, you still have to go through and just like look at every single card.
Well, that's the point of errata text, is that it's all the same.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is do that search on your errata database and change it.
That is true. But there are things just like put a token with this ability onto the battlefield, or your opponent puts this kind of token on the battlefield, or like a lot of weird stuff. But yeah, I guess with errata, like compounding errata, like just keeping it organized would work.
Yeah. So this would give your opponent 2 3/3 green centaurs with protection from black, meaning you can't kill them, they can't kill you. Here, have this Necrotic Plague.
Well, you could totally kill them if you swing and they both block.
Protection from black.
Oh yeah, they do have protection from black.
Moving on.
Yeah, well, it gives them stuff, and you'll have plenty of. It actually is like probably one of the best cards for Necrotic Plague.
Well, you can't enchant them.
You can. Oh yeah, you can. I got it back afterwards, and I was thinking your guy had protection from black.
No, they have protection from black.
I completely forgot about that when I suggested this card. Oh, I suggested like the hunted cards in general,
right?
And went hunted horror because it was
just
black.
So
and
happens.
I just forgot.
This just so happens to be the worst one you could have picked.
I don't think the rest of them have protection.
No, but they all have some weird thing where it's basically impossible for them to kill each other without any sort of outside help.
That is true. I think there's one where they just do they all trade. It's
Yeah.
like I swing this, it's like I double block, and they all die.
But like,
Wow.
there's one with flying or unblockable, and your opponent gets something. It's
Yeah.
so Shieldred the Whispering one would work
She would, because...
until your opponent Necrotic Plagues her.
Because they have to. But still, you get a creature... Oh, wait, no, that wouldn't work. Damn. I was thinking like, since they both of those abilities would activate, she would have activate first, because you control her, and then since your opponents would control the Necrotic Plague, it would activate second, you put on second.
Right.
And it would resolve first. I had a back ass. No, yeah, it would resolve first, so you would sacrifice her, and then she would resolve, and you put her back on the battlefield.
But you have to pick your target when her ability goes
I know.
on the stack.
I realized that after I thought of that and got excited. I'm like, wait, oh no, it doesn't work that way. But if it did, then you find like...
Shieldred would slot nicely into Ertai, though.
She would. Well, that's because Shieldred slots nicely into anything that involves the color black.
And, yeah, it has to be creatures, but it works for everything. It doesn't even matter. Oh, man.
Shieldred is good.
Moving on.
And she brings back she can bring back your reassembling skeleton because you're too cheap to pay the 2.
Yeah, that's true. You know what else can bring back your reassembling skeleton?
Athreos.
Card we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
It was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we just posted it. I posted it.
We talked about it 2 weeks ago.
I still have to publish
and we posted it. No, it's published.
No, this week's video.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, we talked about it 3 weeks ago. Posted it last week. By the time this video goes out, it will be 3 weeks since you heard it.
Yep.
So, 3 weeks ago, we could just say that.
Yep.
All right, moving on. 3 weeks ago. Athreos can just keep bringing your creatures back when they die. Your opponent either has to pay life to keep your creatures dead, or keep letting you have targets for Necrotic Plague.
And the logic is weird. It's like, well, I pay life to keep that thing dead. But if I keep that thing dead, then Necrotic Plague will go away. Why am I not running Necrotic Plague in more decks?
I don't know why you're not running it in your Athreos deck.
That's because I ran out of slots in Athreos.
Take out one of your Shadowborn Apostles.
No.
Just one.
That's yeah, no. I can tell you exactly why.
Why?
Because Athreos will die. You know what one of the best parts about Athreos is? The fact that he has the word indestructible on it. You know what Necrotic Plague gets around? Indestructible.
It's true, but you know what else?
What?
Just sacrifice all of your permanents to turn him off before Necrotic Plague comes back.
That is true. And it'll fall off because you can't enchant things, and then it'll die.
Or just do it and it's an illegal target. They have to pick something else.
No, if between target and resolution, it is no longer a illegal target, it will go.
Right.
It will fizzle.
You don't let them target it. You turn it off before it goes, so that they have to pick something else.
I guess, but but it is really hard to turn off Athreos once he's on in my Athreos deck. Like he just wouldn't work. Or Necrotic Plague just wouldn't work. If it was a different Athreos deck, maybe. In Shadowborn Apostles, it just doesn't get there. Especially since what'll happen is, I would play Necrotic Plague on someone, they're like, cool, I put it on a Shadowborn Apostle. Alright, my turn, Shadowborn Apostle dies, put it on that. Put it on another Shadowborn Apostle. Alright, Demon, put it on the Demon.
Yeah.
It's like, it's now a 7 for 1. That I did to myself. So it's a 7 for 0, or an 8 for 0, because I used Necrotic Plague to kill off 6 Shadowborn Apostles and a Demon.
Yep, that's true. Okay, so that wouldn't work as well as we had hoped.
It's like, it would not work in my Athreos deck. But it would work in Athreos in general, as long as you don't turn him into a creature.
Right. But yeah, you're right. Necrotic Plague does get around Indestructible.
Gets around Indestructible. Fun fact, if memory serves, it gets around Sigarda's ability. Yeah. Sigarda's, the first Sigarda. The one that says, abilities your opponents control cannot have you, or spells.
Oh yeah, she can't have...
You can't sacrifice, creatures you control.
Yeah, you can't sacrifice creatures to pay... You can't is it sacrifice creatures, or... There's like 2 things that it shuts off. Or pay life.
Yeah.
It's sacrificing creatures and paying life. You can't do either of those in order to cast a spell or activate an ability.
And it's of that your opponents do. So you can still do stuff. Like, you can use Ashnod's Altar if you have a Sigarda.
But your opponent can't.
Yeah, your opponent can't say, like, sacrifice target creature.
Right.
However, Necrotic Plague is controlled by the player who, it doesn't matter, actually. It doesn't matter who controls Necrotic Plague, because the ability is put on the creature.
Right, and that's the thing, is it's not to pay for an ability. It's a result of the ability.
No, I think pull up Sigarda. Because I think that's just how her ability is worded. It's like, your opponents can't make you sacrifice things. Sigarda, host of heroes, flying hexproof for...
Herons.
Heroes. Hero at the end is silent.
Oh, you're
host
right.
of herons.
Spells and abilities your opponents control can't cause you to sacrifice permanents.
Yep. I don't know where the life thing... I don't know why I remember that.
There's a different angel. It's Angel of Glory... No, not Angel of Glory's Rise.
It's probably from Innistrad, and it's probably either green and white or something very similar.
I think it might just be white.
Maybe.
It's a white angel that prevents your opponents from paying life or sacrificing creatures.
I wouldn't doubt it. But nonetheless, since Necrotic Plague gives it to the creature, Sigarda's the one who's sacrificing. So she doesn't stop that.
Yeah. It also gets around totem armors.
It gets around totem armor because totem armor says when it's destroyed and sacrifice is not destroy. It gets around regeneration because regeneration only prevents destruction, and that's not...
Yep, the next time a creature would be destroyed, it isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Necrotic Plague is death incarnate. It will kill you. The only way that you cannot die from it is if you have Hexproof or Shroud. And even then, we can make it happen.
Yeah, that's Hexproof. You can't target something with Hexproof, so that it gets around that.
Actually, now that I think about it, there's no way to kill something with... Actually, no, because once something is enchanted, if it has Hexproof, it still remains enchanted. Because it just can't be the target. And protection.
Right. Protection and Hexproof stop Necrotic Plague. Mm-hmm. So you basically have to build an anti-Necrotic Plague deck.
What is something with protection?
So you have to run Asceticism.
You know who you can't... Asceticism would work. Asceticism has nothing but illusions and Lord of the Unreal. You know,
there's Privileged Position, which gives all of your permanents hexproof.
Yep. You know what? You run an EDH deck, and its commander is Progenitus.
Yes. So you just drop that, and then you win.
Protection from everything. I love Progenitus. He's so cool. He is so stupidly bad and good at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you're never playing a Progenitus, but if you do, someone's gonna wrath, and it's gonna be really funny.
I mean, in a constructed, you can get a Progenitus out for 4 mana.
Yeah, if you can get there.
To 4 mana?
And have the cards you need. Quicksilver Amulet is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can cheat him out. And
someone will just counter him. No, you can't. Yeah, they can.
They can't counter it because you put it onto the battlefield. You don't cast it.
The one thing that counters the whole stack.
He doesn't go on the stack.
The ability goes on the stack. The whole thing would get countered and you wouldn't be able to put it on.
Okay, so then you just do it again the next turn. He doesn't go on the stack at all.
And then just destroy your Quicksilver Amulet.
There are ways around it, but the fact of the matter is you can put him onto the battlefield for less than 10 mana.
That is true.
In a deck that only runs one color.
Well, even then, it could be any color. It could be colorless for all we know, because the only other card we've mentioned thus far for this imaginary deck is Quicksilver Amulet.
Yep. It was a completely colorless deck except for him.
So, we've talked about Progenitus like 6 times.
Yeah, I don't think he's worth doing an episode on.
He's not, because he's so simple, but he's kind of the go-to stupidly big creature.
That is hard to get rid of.
And it's hard to cast in general. And he's hard to super abuse, because once he's on the battlefield, you can't do anything to him either.
Right. It's basically worse than Shroud.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Do we have anything else left? I don't know.
I don't know. I think I mentioned all my cards.
Yeah?
Pull up my notes. I need my notes, or I just can't talk. Shieldred. One of the most important things about Necrotic Plague is you need to be playing multiplayer.
I mean, you don't need to, but it's the most fun in multiplayer.
No, you need to, because it's just boring. It's not quite fun if you're not like... If there's not someone else debating who to give it to.
Right.
It's like, I could give it to that guy, but that thing. And the best part is someone's like, 2 people have 2 really good things. One of them is just a good thing. One of them is just a good thing, but the other one is a really good thing that screws you over. Like,
right.
Personally, and you're like, on one hand, I need to get rid of both. And, like, this guy is closer in turn order. But if I give it to him, he may not give it to that thing just to spite me. So do I give it to him and hope that he gets rid of the Elesh Norn that's turning me off? Or do I give it to the Elesh Norn to guarantee that the Elesh Norn goes away? And you're like, crap.
You know, Elesh Norn would go in Ertai really, really nicely.
I thought he was like a 3-2.
Doesn't matter.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
a 3/4.
I just assumed
He's a 3/4, but no, if you put Elesh Norn in the deck with him,
you're right. I keep assuming that Elesh Norn is...
This is just going to be a deck full of ridiculously funny and good cards.
Yeah. Well, I keep thinking that Elesh Norn is a
global
symmetrical effect.
Yeah. Nope.
Because, like, every time you think Elesh Norn, like, I personally will never run Elesh Norn, because she is not fun. She is never a fun card to play, unless you're doing something like that Dovescape combo, which is stupid, and you should feel bad.
I feel like a wonderfully horrible person. I am the worst person.
You are. Yeah, and she's just not fun. And so, like, since I will never have an Elesh Norn, the only part that's relevant to me is everyone's creatures get -2/-2.
Right.
And so I just completely forget, like, oh yeah, but your stuff gets +2.
Yeah.
Is she 5 or 6?
6. Yeah.
Screw Elesh.
She might be 5. I don't know. Doesn't matter. We're not talking about her right now.
Yeah.
I'll do that on a white episode, and then we'll talk about Dovescape. Actually, you know what? I'll just do Dovescape and then talk about her.
That would work.
Yeah.
Because I think Dovescape is far more interesting.
It is.
I want to point out that the first, 5 episodes that we did, I talked a lot about lore.
Yeah, we sort of stopped talking about lore.
That's because we caught up, and we talked about all the lore that was relevant.
I mean, there's lore with Ertai, but I don't know it.
I
so.
just posted the, I think it was today. I just posted the Kaladesh spoiler season episode.
Yes.
And the guy I mentioned was Vronos.
Mm-hmm.
Who has, the same mask that What's-His-Face had.
Right.
That all the Aetherborn have. And I don't know what I was getting at, but yeah, they still look very similar.
Okay.
They look just alike.
All right.
Thank you for listening to Pick a Card, Any Card. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, or card suggestions, you can email us at
pacac.cast@gmail.com.
or you can leave them in the comments below.